What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 13 of the College Loop Podcast. Tarr, what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the fact that Daniel hadn't even plugged his mic in and you weren't even looking. You said, all right, 3, 2, 1, let's rock.
Hey, that's
Oh.
okay. We'll roll with it.
My bad. Y'all both
No,
in
you're
a
good.
hurry. So I'm just trying to get us in and out. This is the quickest we've ever had a podcast right after a game. This is like minutes after Auburn just beat LSU in basketball. Got to mention it's basketball because last time Tar went full ninth grade English teacher on me for just saying Auburn. But I feel like we're all used to it now. We start off with basketball. But yeah, Auburn basketball went into the Bayou, old Baton Rouge, and took down the LSU Tigers 67-49 in the coming out party of one Lior Berman.
What a big game for Lior, man. Really, I mean, starting to really see his minutes uptick after Chris Semo goes down on injury. And what was that final stat line? I know you want to read it out loud. 8 points and on 1 of 2 from 3, 3 or 4 from the floor. And man, just a physical presence on defense. Great backdoor cut in the first half. I mean, that was a textbook to get to the basket. And I mean, what a great game from Lior Berman. I had a handful of things I wanted to talk about. We'll run through it. I'm going to ask you guys about. I've actually got the old school, wrote down notes while I was watching the game today, which is pretty unlike me. I usually am more
that makes one of
watching
us today.
Yeah, right. I'm usually old school, or not old school. I'm usually watching the game and then analyzing based on stat line and vibes. But first and foremost, I kind of want to start with the fact that I think that LSU might stink a little worse than we thought they might have. We kind of knew that they weren't that good. They were pretty sus coming into after getting into SEC play. But you got to respect any team on the road. And Auburn's historically not good at playing sports in general in Baton Rouge. It's kind of where Auburn teams go to die. But if you look at the margins here, second chance points, man. I mean, LSU just rebounded so piss poor. It is remarkable. Janai Broome ran the paint tonight, and he didn't have an eye-popping game. Only had 6 rebounds and actually only dropped 4 points. But his presence alone, he was such a dominant figure. And I thought Dylan Cardwell played pretty well tonight. 7 rebounds, only 4 points, but 2 assists, and only played 17 minutes because of an apparent injury, which he clearly got over, but it looked like maybe dehydration cramp.
There is a stat line that's missing on Dylan Cardwell's stat sheet. It should be, so it's 4 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, with it should be like 1 body.
Yeah,
that stat's missing.
One basketball player baptized.
Call him Pastor Dylan as.
That's right. What a game for Cardwell all around. Katie Johnson didn't look bad. I didn't think he looked terrible. I thought he looked competent. Zeb Jasper looked competent. And guys, here's where I'm going to open up the floor. How freaking crazy good is Wendell Green Jr.? I mean, his stat line is nothing like absurd to write home about tonight. 14 points on 1 of 3 from 3, 5, 14 from the field, but perfect from the charity stripe, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and I mean, Auburn's just so much better when he's on the floor.
Yeah, it's unheard of how good Auburn is at the guard position whenever Wendell Green is on the court. I do wonder, is this coming from Janai Broome? He scored single-digit points the past 2 games after, double-doubles 4 games in a row.
Right.
Our defense is starting to get a little wary of him and start double-teaming him whenever they see him in the paint, because now they don't even.
Well, I think Will Cruz, when he was on the College Loop last week, I think he brought up a really good point about Janai Broome. To this point, to last week's point, no one had been able to stop him the last week. Now teams are starting to realize he's going to go up with that left hand. He's got that move to the left. There's not a ton of diversity under the rim. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think Janai Broome can do a lot of really, really good things. I think he's an elite level player in the SEC. I do think you're right that they're more able to scheme for him. But the more you scheme for Auburn inside, and the better this team's starting to shoot, which we're seeing them shoot better and better from the field and from beyond the arc, game by game, the harder this team's getting to defend. So I think that a couple of quiet nights in a row from Janai is not too much of a panic. Do you think, Daniel, would you panic yet?
No. And like I said, kind of all my points for this game. On Monday night, I said it was going to be a race, 65 points. That panned out. Sure enough, it was. And then, obviously, I agree with the point of Wendell guard play. He led it, and he is Auburn's best guard. There's no question about that. Jalen Williams, solid night. I think like 14 or 15 points.
Quietly 14.
Back full circle here to the Schneider room thing. No, it's not time to panic. The one thing LSU has kind of been able to do pretty well this year, and see if things they haven't been able to do well this year, is defend down low. That's really their one strength. And, just it was a bad matchup for Broome tonight. South Carolina is not very good at defending the ball down low, not really solid in the paint. So it should Broome struggles Saturday, then maybe it's time to think a little bit. But as of right now, no.
I'm with you. And you know what? Kind of transferring over, we're talking about trends of recent players. Now, I want to talk about a guy for a second who did foul out and only had 8 points tonight. But I think I am ready to say Allen Flanagan's back. I think that conversation is here now. What a contributor Allen Flanagan has been over the past couple of weeks. What a key point to this team's success. And to a degree, it looks like he's not going off on a limb anymore. He's stepping up into confident shots. He's stepping up into confident rolls off of picks. He's setting good screens. He's making good decisions when to pass, when to pump fake. I think this is the best form of Allen Flanagan we've seen it since 2020, and that's big. Guys, am I crazy to think that Auburn can finish second in the SEC right now?
No,
I don't think so at all. I mean, you have Kentucky beating Tennessee, and I think this Kentucky team is one of the worst we've seen in a hot minute. I mean, Bama's Bama right now, and you hate to see it, honestly. But I think right now Auburn is that second team, and you're looking at Texas A&M right now, who's also undefeated in the conference. But I mean, I don't think A&M is. I think that their record doesn't really show how what's the word I'm looking for here? Their record kind of overrates them a little bit.
Texas A&M?
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right.
But I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say Auburn right now is the second best team in the SEC, especially if they start finding that confidence that we've seen out of these trends over the past few weeks. I think starting since the Ole Miss game, I think ever since they got that win in Oxford, I think this has been a much better shooting team. It's been a much better team overall. And I mean, you can only go up from here. I don't know when do we play Alabama? Is it
Alabama
February
11th?
March 1st.
Oh, so we got a month.
March 1st. Yep.
We got a lot of the month.
And to Auburn's benefit, actually, you have a lot of basketball that you can win a lot of games between now and then, you would think. And guys, it's way too soon to talk about this right now, but we'll talk about it when we get to the Kentucky week. This is a team I think is going to probably quite possibly break that streak and erupt. And let me tell you why. This is transitioning nicely into our preview for the South Carolina game very quickly. We're going to talk about
Real
that
quick before you get into that. I just want to say the battle for second in the SEC comes down to February 4th and March 4th.
Absolutely, but Auburn, Tennessee. It's going to be whoever wins whoever either if that's a split, I think it favors Auburn. But otherwise, I think whoever sweeps wins that series. I personally think it'll probably be a home victory and a home victory for it. Probably be a split. That makes the most sense to me if Auburn can win one of those two games. And I'm not throwing shade. It just depends on which version shows up. But kind of building on my next point as we go into the preview session, just a quick preview about South Carolina. This team finally put a team on the rearview mirror. And we have been screaming this for the past couple weeks, how important it is for you to go in and excuse my language for a second here, Dylan, effectively kick somebody's ass. And no, I'm serious. It needed to be done. You needed to go out on the road and assert the fact that, damn it, we're not the team that you think that cannot win on the road. And Auburn did that.
It did take them a little while to understand they can do it. When you get back from half, can't quite remember what the score was at half, but I feel like it was a double-digit lead, and that quickly became a 2-point lead at 5 minutes into the second half. But something awoke in Lior Berman, and this team just blew him out of the water. It was almost a 20. It was an 18-point win. You kind of want those 2 points just for the nice score differential. Just to get the 20 points. But I think you're right. I think it's been a long time coming. This team has the talent and it's better than half the teams that's been playing. We should not be seeing Auburn winning in Starkville by only 6 points. I feel like that should and based on the stat line, that should have been a double-digit win in Starkville, but it just wasn't. And same thing with Ole Miss. I can't remember how much that was, but it felt like it should have been a whole lot bigger difference in score.
I think you mean it should have been a little bit further out in actually Mississippi State was at home. Ole Miss was on the road, and that was a 9-point victory, but it was a 6-point victory against a Mississippi State team at home when you're defending. I get what you're saying. Yeah. The message still carries. This team's got a really big opportunity to build and possibly blow out another team on Saturday in South Carolina. And Daniel hinted at this earlier. This is a team that does not defend well in the painted area. Daniel, how does Auburn get it done against a very, very bottom of the barrel rebuild South Carolina Gamecocks team on Saturday?
Yeah. So the big thing there, obviously, Janai Broome. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. Also, Dylan Cardwell. Limit turnovers. Limit your unnecessary fouls. Get the ball inside. Don't take unnecessary shots, and you win comfortably. Because this South Carolina team is worse than LSU. I thoroughly believe that.
Oh, light years.
So I think that if Auburn just goes and takes care of business, we get to start my birthday off with a dub.
That's right. Celebrating one, Daniel Locke. And if you look, Gregory Jackson II is the leading scorer for the Gamecocks, averaging 15.1 a game, also averaging 6.6 rebounds a game. He's kind of your key to success there. So it's going to be the forward play once again, which is the third matchup in a row that we're talking about. The importance of forwards, the importance of Jalen Williams. And to this point now, that hybrid 2-3 role of Lior Berman now, being able to play lockdown defense and provide good minutes. As we transition over to women's basketball, my last note for men's hoops, Dylan, was it's time to start talking to your kids about increasing Lior Berman's minutes.
Oh, baby. get him in more often. I think that a start like a 1 through 3 of Zep Jasper, Katie Johnson, and Lior Berman would just annoy the ever-living crap out of an opposing team. Those 3 guys play at those annoying kids you play at the rec, who when they play defense, they just never get off of you.
I'm looking at you, Caleb Jones.
And you're just like, get off me, dude. But you can't score any points because you can't get any free space. And I know Katie Johnson, he plays with that kind of energy. But like Zep Jasper, he was annoying some point guards. I would some explicits would came out of my mouth if I was being blocked by Zep Jasper or Lior Berman, because I'm just like, dude, please get off of me. That's just kind of defense they play, and I love it.
Oh, I agree. Let's flip over to women's basketball. I'm going to cut you loose here, Daniel. I'm going to let you talk. I'm just going to run through real quick. They're playing a Mississippi State team that we were a little skeptic. They're 13-5. We thought we're going to probably be a little better than they are right now in what we could call the Coach J homecoming parade. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's her first time playing on the road in Starkville since she's been head coach at Auburn. So pretty big opportunity for Auburn to get on the board here, because this game's sandwiched in between a couple of tough ones. You've got Ole Miss coming up after that, so that's a winnable one, and then you got Kentucky later. So how does Auburn get it done this weekend? And is there then we got a mailbag question we'll open up the floor, but Daniel, it's yours.
All right, so this women's basketball team's biggest strength is still getting the ball inside, and that's just kind of, I think, going to remain a thing all year. Hopefully they'll be healthy, meaning that honestly Scott Grayson and Aisha Coulibaly will both be playing, and hopefully playing full minutes. And I really feel like that's Auburn's best shot at pulling out a win in Starkville, is to be at 100%. Also, the 3 shooting against LSU wasn't bad. So if you can kind of continue that momentum, build off of it, I feel like a win in Starkville is definitely doable. Saying that in 2017 would make no sense, but here we are in 2023, and anything's possible. But
living in the world of Dawn Staley.
Sandwiched in between. Right. It's sandwiched in between a lot of tough games, so your wins are going to be very, very hard to come by. So anytime you have a chance to get one, you have to take advantage of it, and that's going to be the difference between 2 or 3 conference wins or 5 or 6.
Heard that, man. I couldn't agree more. And to your point about the conference wins and wins being tough to come by, Had a pretty good question, mailbag question. I think I sent you guys a little earlier. From Harrison on Twitter. It's not me. It's a different Harrison at AU Barnfire. His question was, how long are we looking at for the women's basketball rebuild? Daniel, I'm going to let you go first, and we'll work our way around this one real quick. And it doesn't have to take too much time, but just want to get your thoughts, and then Dylan get yours, and I'll be happy to share mine because nobody asked, but I'll tell you anyways.
Sure. So I feel like the big thing on this year is don't finish worse than last year. At least show some sort of progress, whether that's one more conference win or simply just looking better down the stretch or winning a game in Greenville, in the SEC tournament would accomplish that. Then that sets you up well. This class next year, who has talent, will be a year older, more recruits coming in. This roster will get closer to being a full SEC roster, which Auburn just hasn't really had the past few seasons. Next year, I think you're pushing to be around middle of the pack in the SEC. Then the year after that, if you keep building on that momentum, I feel like you could be pushing to make the women's tournament. I don't know if that's what our friend Harrison considers fully rebuilt, but I guess the simplest answer is it depends on what your terms of a rebuild is. If you're just talking getting to the women's tournament, I think 3 years.
I like that answer a lot, actually. So you think we're 3 years out from Auburn women's hoops being back to being a perennial tournament contender? I like that. Dylan, would be interested to hear your thoughts, and then I'll share mine and flip it over to you for the remainder of going down our stretch, if you will.
I like the 3 years. I like 2-3 years till Auburn's back to being the tournament team. That's a good question by your burner account there, Tarr.
Yeah, if only. And this guy has Harrison's also from Macon, Georgia. Get this? Like, I'm not even kidding.
So if you gotta put more mailbag questions out there, because you see what you're doing to this man. He is making burner accounts. So we have mailbag questions to answer on the podcast. Y'all gotta get more questions to this man. You look what you're doing to him.
I did find out who AU Barn Trooper was this weekend, but we'll keep his identity a secret because I know it's a burner.
It was a bummer too.
It was a bummer, yeah.
Tar, how long are we out from completing this rebuild?
I think, like Daniel said, it really depends on what you classify a rebuild as. I think that this team is certainly another year out from being in the middle of the pack in the SEC. I think from being a team that could be jockeying for a spot in the NCAA tournament, you're looking at 2025. And that's probably going to be the make or break year for Coach Jay anyways. If you're not in the tournament by 2025, it may be time to move forward. I don't think that. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think anyone in the Zoom call thinks that's going to happen right now. But that would probably be my benchmark, just because you watch what happened under Coach Flournoy, and that lasted it drug out forever. And you don't want that to happen again. I don't think it will. I think 2025 is probably going to be the make or break year. If they're not showing signs of life this year, toward the end, at any point, next year's getting that whole timeline could get bumped back another year. But next year you've got to be at least in a top 2/3 of the SEC to show noticeable progress. So that being said, Dylan, I know that there's a couple other things we want to talk about before we get to your last. Believe it or not, football's gonna be the shortest part today. I think. And I got a couple other things to talk about, but I will give you the rest of the rundown and let you navigate our way through the world. What do you say?
I'm with it. So starting off with one of the sports Auburn is really good at.
That's right.
Gymnastics. They compete on Saturday, and if you're a fan of the podcast,
They compete on Friday, actually.
Huh? Oh, Friday. Sorry. My weekend's all kinds of jumbled up right now, but it's going to be on Friday. And if you're a fan of the podcast and of us, we'll be there. We're going to be right there watching Suni Lee, Darren Groborn, Sophia Groff. We're going to be right there in it, screaming, yelling, doing backflips with them.
What's up, Dan?
You're muted, Daniel.
Just a little shameless plug. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. Locke. I will be providing updates courtesy of Legal 91.
There you go.
So,
Get you some live updates from Daniel at Daniel J. Locke on Twitter. Definitely check that out. Yeah, we'll be on site, ready for possibly what'll this be? Sunishali's 6th Perfect 10 at Auburn Arena. I think
Yeah.
I'll fact check that by Saturdays or after she records whatever number perfect 10 it is on Friday. But a lot of upside for this team. I don't think Arkansas is as good. I mean, the SEC is deep, but this should be a pretty fun home environment for Auburn. And we talked about it. The bummer loss to Florida last week probably is a little bit different in the jungle, right? Not that it matters that much, but there is that energy level, and this national championship caliber team should be excited to get back home.
It's going to be a fun one. And just to move on to the next sport on the rundown, Tarr, we're getting mighty close to some diamond sports being very prevalent on this show as well.
You are absolutely right about that. Auburn baseball is so criminally underrated going into this year.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is ridiculous to me how Joseph Gonzalez and Hayden Mullins are going to be on the mound. and people can really look me in the eye and tell me that Auburn's not going to be in the top 8 of the SEC. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Hey, that's going to be the best 1-2 punch baseball has seen since Sale and Pavetta in 2018. Hey, that rhymed. That's fire.
This is going to be an awesome rotation. This rotation is going to be very, very good. I know that you lose Burkhalter, you lose Skipper, and the bullpen, but you think that Armstrong's probably going to have a big year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Allsup's back, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of talent in this bullpen, and that's where the question lies. It's not the fielding. Fielding's not going to be a problem. And the offense is not going to be a problem. So I was a little surprised that Auburn was so criminally underrated, and it's not going to surprise you, Dylan, but Lindsey Crosby was not happy about it.
What, the baseball guy wasn't happy about Auburn being? Let me point this out. We've not mentioned it yet. Auburn is unranked in every baseball poll, and we've been to Omaha twice in
the past 3 times. It's
3 years, twice in 3 years.
Past 4 years, but three occasions.
Yeah. So Auburn is unranked, and there are about 8 teams in the top 10 or 7 teams in the top 10 for baseball in the SEC.
Well, let's not forget that last year, how many was it? 7 or 8 teams in the SEC made regional or better. Excuse me. Yeah, the SEC is just loaded in baseball. But
yeah,
Alabama at 20 is ridiculous.
Oh, it's blasphemy! Like what? Or the list doesn't make sense to me. In my opinion. Also, most of these lists have LSU around 10. I think LSU is probably the top 5 team in the country this year. I think they're that good. I think Arkansas is probably not as good as we thought that they're going to be, because that seems to be their MO. And Vandy's due to be back this year. All of this is offensive to me. The only team I'll give a free pass to is I think Ole Miss will probably still be pretty dang good. But the fact that dude, I'm so angry.
Sources are telling me that Bama fans think that Coach Bohannon is the Nick Saban of baseball.
Well, also,
no way.
Nate Oates is also the Nick Saban of basketball. Just asking.
I'm joking about the Bohannon thing. It's more of a dig at the Nate Oates thing. But to go from some bad news, not bad news. I like when Auburn's not ranked and stuff.
Auburn baseball thrives when they're underrated. By the way,
as a long-term Auburn athletics fan, I love being underrated. In 2010, Auburn was 23rd in the nation at the first poll, and we won the national championship. I love it when Auburn's not in the top 10 of anything, especially in the preseason polls. But to go from some that news to some good news, Frank Thomas' statue will be unveiled on April 8th versus Texas A&M. Yeah, Big Hurt, part of the famous trio of Barkley, Bo, and the Big Hurt. And you know what? We need more statues of baseball. I want a Greg Olson statue.
Yeah, we got a statue to build in front of Auburn Arena before we can talk about anything else.
Jabari Smith?
Vicky Orr, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Yeah, build a statue of everybody. Sidney Lee is getting one. Darren Go.
That should happen.
It's gonna happen. I think might have to name one of the Coliseums after her.
You're so not wrong.
But yeah, going on from baseball to softball, Tigers are ranked number 19 in the D1 softball preseason poll, which is still 8th in the SEC. Already got thoughts on that?
The SEC is loaded. I think Auburn's going to be a contender this year. I think they'll probably, Daniel, you weigh in here. I think that Auburn could probably host a regional this year. I think they've got the talent. they've got the returning talent, and I know you talked about Bree Ellis in a second, but and Mickey we trust, right?
Yeah.
Indiana Mickey. And you mentioned Bree Ellis. She is recognized as the top 10 slugger in college softball per Flow Softball. And something about Bree Ellis, she can just knock the freaking skin off a baseball.
From probably a softball too, actually, Dylan.
Oh yeah.
There,
one's yellow, one's white.
It doesn't really matter. She probably could take anybody 450 dead center. All the Bree Ellis does is drop dingers. And she was my MVP for Auburn softball last year. She's my way too early projection for MVP this year. This team is exciting. It's just I feel like we say this in every sport, guys. It's a freaking sludge fest to get through conference play.
Every sport, really. But Bree Ellis, if you're listening, we are part of the Leor Berman fan club. We are also presidents of the Bree Ellis fan club. If you'd love to be on the show someday, we will accept it with open arms. And now moving on to football. The transfer portal has now closed until after spring workouts are over. So Auburn's not a quarterback.
And TJ Finley's still here.
He's still around doing workouts. So it looks like Hugh Freeze is complicit with Robbie Ashford, Holden Jariner, Hank Brown,
Baby Goat,
all the walk-ons he's going to bring in at some point, and TJ Finley.
Yeah, that's how it seems. And there's still a handful. There's another window. And we saw a handful of athletes I think that we were all pretty curious about, namely from the reigning national champion University of Georgia.
There are three guys out there that I'm surprised are on teams right now. Eric Gilbert, Dominic Blaylock, and newly into the portal, A.D. Mitchell, who is Dominic Blaylock and A.D. Mitchell are like the Georgia 1-2 receivers.
Right. And I would be curious to see where those guys wind up come the spring transfer period, because they did have a short turnaround there. So should be very curious. Daniel, anyone that you think could still wind up at Auburn? Any big names?
I don't know.
I think Sanders, the Sanders sweepstakes is over, right?
I would like this, right? I would think so.
Which means the Robbie Ashford hype train starts right here on the College Loop podcast.
It didn't just start.
Well, it's chugging along more than usual now. Now that all the quarterback drama is behind us, me and Tarr can sleep soundly at night.
For now.
For now, until the portal opens back up, and then all 25 of the quarterbacks still in the portal start coming back around.
I forgot the other football news. Hey, guys, A-Days on Easter weekend. That sucks.
For you, I live in the state. I can go to A-Day and then come back to spend time with my family.
Yeah. That sucks.
There'll be boots on the ground there. Tarr is to be determined, but I will be there with all 86,000 of you, because I know A-Day, whenever the first year head coach, I was there with Gus Malzahn. I'm going to be there for Hugh Freeze.
Were you there for Brian Harsin?
No, it was COVID year. So
Sure was. You're right. All right.
I missed that one, but I was there for Gus Malzahn's. I'm pretty sure I was there for Chiswick's. I saw Cam Newton on A-Day. It was a lovely, lovely day. I love A-Day.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll see. Daniel, you're going to be at A-Day?
Most likely.
Yeah, I'm in the 70-30. We'll have to see kind of vibe. At some point, that one's out of the hands of me. That's in the hands of Mama Tarr. So we'll see.
We'll beg. But to talk about the newcomers on the Plains, they all got their jersey numbers a couple of days ago. And I'm going to save the one we're going to talk about for a little bit for last, just because it's wild that he got this number.
Yes, Daniel, while he goes through these, we're going to give thumbs up and thumbs down as to whether or not they're objectively cool numbers.
Well, offensive line recruit Clay Whedon, 76. 76 is a great O-line number. Connor Liu, 75. I'm liking 75. I guess if he's a center, I guess 75 is kind of a weird number. I got that. Center's more of a 50s number. Xavion Miller, 72. 72 is okay number.
Yeah.
Gunnar Britton, 53.
I like this number.
I love Gunnar Britton, but I think offensive tackles should be 70s. Steven Johnson, he was a defensive tackle, right? I'm starting to get my big men confused because they're all 300 pounds. 56. That was my number whenever I play football. Let's go, big 5'6". Braden Joyner, the big boy from Auburn High, 55.
I like this one. Nice,
like
nice
55.
symmetry.
Dylan Wade, 52. I like 52. Wilkie Denard, 52 on the D line. Britton Williams, 22. He was an edge rusher, so.
Oh, I like that.
20. Yeah. Keldrick Falk, 15. I guess 2. I guess 2. Two
that
thumbs
was my
up.
number growing up.
What position is he again?
Edge. He's an edge rusher.
Wearing 15 is beautiful as an edge.
Sure.
That's what my you always got to give the edge rushers like low digit numbers. Rivaldo Fairweather, 13. Rivaldo Fairweather
the
supremacy.
best receiver in the NFL right now is number 13.
Jim Callister, number 11.
11's a good number.
And Tarr's gonna try to put up as many thumbs as he can for this one. Kyan Lee, number 3.
Love it, love it, love it. 3's my new favorite number.
And then the wild one, Demario Tolan, number 0.
This number is a huge W, by the way. Number 0, great number.
Sure.
And you know what's funny? We have compared him to one specific player the entire time he's been committed to Auburn, and that is Owen Papo.
Who wore 10 first.
Who wore 10 first, but as soon as 0 was allowed, he was the first person on this team to put on that number. And it is going to be baffling to watch him play football with number 0 and be like, is that Owen Papo out there? Did he come back?
If only.
We have 2 zeros. We got double 0 at the linebacker core.
Love it.
And speaking of Owen Papo, some tragic news today.
Not tragic, but like not good. Don't make it sound like he died.
Well, he will not be playing in the Senior Bowl due to a slap tear in his labrum. He will not need surgery, but doctors have advised him he could further injure the shoulder if he plays. He's still expected to be a full participant at NFL Combine and the Pro Day, which would be somewhere in between February 28th and April 18th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big window. Shouldn't hurt his draft stock much. He should be okay. So I think
he's still a late day 2, day 3 kind of guy.
Right.
But a good combine, a good pro day could really.
It's gonna be a sneaky good pick from make a team very, very happy.
He's gonna be a great user in Madden if I ever play that game again.
Absolutely correct. I will buy it just for him.
But yeah, is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think we're good. Daniel, tell us where we can find your stuff, give you love, shout you out.
At Daniel J. Locke on Twitter and bylines on 3 different websites, Weagle91.1fm.com, EagleEyeTV.com, and most recently, the Opelika Observer's website. My debut article went up today is a interview with Ty Holder, who is a big part of Auburn's recruiting staff. So if you want to look into what goes on the inside part of recruiting, please check it out.
It was an absolute banger of an article, too. Make sure you check that out on the Opelika Observer. I'm Harrison Tarr at @Harrison Tarr on Twitter, of the College Loop, of the Auburn Daily. Just depends on the day, the hat that I'm wearing. You can find all my bylines there. So make sure to check us out there. Check out the Auburn Daily Show. We had a banger of an episode today. Dylan, let's get out of here.
My name is Dylan Larck, at @YouBoyTheTank on Twitter, and my places are about the same as Tarr, except for the making bacon. College Loop and the Auburn Daily. Follow all the socials. And with that being said, thank y'all for listening.